Back from the bye, the Vikings are set to return to US Bank Stadium against the Cardinals this weekend. I'm Tatum Everett, and this is Pick 6 presented by KFAN, where we take your fan questions and get them answered by an exciting lineup. This week, we've got NFL Network experts and players and even some coaches. So let's get to that first question. It's coming to us from Will. He asked, do you think this new regime has what it takes to sustain these wins compared to the old ones, and why? It's a great question, Will. We went out to NFL Network to ask their expert, Mike Yam.
Oh, it's a great question, Will. You know, I do think back to some of the previous games where this team just couldn't get over the hump, but I do think about the offensive acumen of Kevin O'Connell, the tree that he comes from, and some of those weapons that are in place. We've been making the case here at NFL Network for a while that Justin Jefferson, by season's end, could be the best wide receiver in the NFL. He's already on that short list. So to me, as he continues to grow and some of these pieces come together with this philosophy, there's no doubt in my mind this team can get over the hump.
Thanks, Mike. The Vikings are currently 4-0 in one-score games, which is the best such record currently in the NFL. Up next, we've got a question from Ruth, and this one is for Vikings Entertainment Network's Gabe Henderson. That question: the Vikings' run game has struggled getting going, yet the O-line grades out well in run blocking. Where do you think the disconnect lies? Take it away, Gabe.
Ruth from Blaine, I'm going to keep this plain and simple. When you look at PFF versus an offensive line coach and how they grade their offensive linemen, PFF grades it basically off of where the play is supposed to go and how the lineman did his job to get there. An offensive line coach grades the offensive lineman by hand placement versus the play scheme versus how he gets up to the second level of the linebacker and so on and so forth. So if a running back runs through the wrong hole or bounces it out on a perfect play that's supposed to be blocked a certain way, then ultimately the grade is still going to be good for both PFF and offensive line coach. That's on the running back. There's so many variables that go into the PFF grading, but at the end of the day, all they care about is that the linemen do their job.
You know, Dalvin is ranked second in the NFL with 5 or more games with 75-plus yards, and he hasn't even had his best game yet, so hopefully the best is yet to come. Moving to the next question, this one is for Kirk Cousins from John Herman. John asks, what are you yelling in your cadence? Is it triple set, turbo set, or my thought, turtle hut? So we found Kirk after practice to ask him John's question.
Hey, John, love the question. I'm sure when you watch a game, you hear us mic'd up and you hear that term often. We say turbo set hut, and we try to say it about as fast as we can so it all runs together, and it's turbo set hut, and it can be whatever you want it to be. It can be turtle hut, turtle set hut, whatever you think, but I'm trying to say turbo set hut about as fast as I possibly can.
Thanks, Kirk, and great question, John. Moving on to the next one. It's a question for Max from Twitter. What makes our wide receiver room so effective and dangerous week to week? We found MJ Acosta-Ruiz over at the NFL Network, and she gave her answer with a little bit of a fantasy spin.
Hi, Max. Well, the wide receiver room has tormented me in fantasy all season long. Week 1, I had to go up against Justin Jefferson, so let's just start there. Then you got KJ, and let's not forget Adam Thielen, who I think I'm going up against next week. It's a deep pain for me. Amazing for Vikings fans, though.
Thanks, MJ. For fantasy owners like myself who got to draft JJ for their fantasy team have been seeing dividends get paid off. He is ranked 3rd in the league and receivers for the most yards so far this year, so it's been paying off. We gotta get to our next question, though. This one is coming to us from Jeremy. The Vikings defense is going to be tested coming out of the bye week by legit opposing QBs like Dak, Kyler Murray, Josh Allen. What do you need to see from the defense in those matchups to give you the confidence about that unit for the rest of the year? Great question, Jeremy, and we got Paul Allen, voice of the Vikings, to give you his answer.
Jeremy from Matamidi, excellent question, and specifically with Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers later in the season, all dynamite quarterbacks, no doubt. But through the first 6 games, the Minnesota Vikings defense is morphing into a defense that really is getting comfortable in this 3-4, specifically Danielle Hunter, Dalvin Tomlinson, and Cam Bynum. So that's all 3 levels. So you play them as they line them up. Happens to be Kyler next, then Washington, then you got Dak and some really good quarterbacks, but this defense is getting better, and it's playing a big part in the Vikings being 5-1.
Thanks, Paul. You can hear him on the call Sunday at noon on KFAN. For our final question, this one is about the Ring of Honor inductee this weekend, Jared Allen. It comes to us from Sam in St. Louis Park. He asks, with Jared Allen being inducted into the Vikings Ring of Honor this weekend, what did you admire most about him as a player? And who better to ask than Vikings outside linebackers coach Mike Smith?
Just the way he played the game. He plays the game with such violence and such a high motor, and the passion just comes out when he plays. I think that's what I always admired about him. Like I said in the show, you know, if there was somebody I wanted my players to watch, would be Jared Allen, just because of who he is. And that's the thing about, we talk about like long seasons and stuff like that, you could never tell. Jared Allen, I didn't play with him, but I guarantee it, he was full go all the time.
Jared Allen's Vikings Ring of Honor induction ceremony will be held at halftime on Sunday. That's it for this edition of Pick Six. We love seeing your questions come in every couple of weeks. We love featuring them and tracking down the experts, players, and coaches to answer them. So we'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Make sure you follow me at Tatum Everett and look for my call for questions. Until then, Skol Vikings, and we'll see you Sunday at US Bank Stadium.